They both have oaks. So anyway, let's go back to this. This is the another promise to make you father of a multitude of nations, and kings will come from you. And this is my covenant in perpetuity. 7. Now I have to be frank there. This Bible says in perpetuity, and in perpetuity I will be your God. What I mean, if it's perpetuity, how is it abrogated? I mean, if you're carrying the book around and God is quoted saying it's in perpetuity or forever, how can we say it shouldn't be? So this is the question I ask people. I don't care one way or the other if you observe these things or you don't, but I don't understand how you can value a book and not observe what it is insisting on. I don't observe it myself necessarily, but I still think it's odd. So you have to think about that, but this is the covenant of what? Circumcision. On the 8th day, males. Muslims circumcise normally when the child is 13 years old. I think because Ishmael is 13 years old here in this story. I have a feeling it's connected in some way to that. I think Ishmael was 13 when he was expelled from the camp of Abraham or something to that effect. I'm not exactly sure of that number, but also it's the age of majority. But I certainly wouldn't want to be circumcised at 13. And I've seen some of these Muslim circumcisions at 13, and they are horrendous to behold. All the people, they bring a lamb along, and they have it outside their house, and they cut the throat of the lamb, and then all these children are running around, bathing their hands in the blood, and running about, it's kind of frightening. And then inside is the poor chap who's had to undergo this, and, he can hardly even, he can hardly bear up. He's in total agony. It's a very odd sight. Now, a child of 8 days, I've seen this as well. I don't like to watch it. I have watched it, but I don't enjoy watching it. But I will say this, that the child cries for about half a minute. They put some wine in its mouth and then it stops. So, though I think there is some after effect for the next couple of days in terms of some, unpleasantness, it soon passes. So 8 days is actually probably a little bit more humane than at the age of 13. So, and a lot of people in America in the hospitals, not as a religious sign, do this for various reasons connected with health or sanitation or whatever you think of these issues. And their doctors do it like routinely. I don't think there's a lot of trouble over it. Finally, were the Jews the only people, and of course now Muslims, and why do you think Muslims circumcise themselves? I'm sure because of these stories. But were the Jews the only people in the ancient world that circumcised themselves? No, in fact, the Egyptians did it before them. And I think that the Jews probably got it from the Egyptians and then reinterpreted it in their own tradition in the manner we're seeing here. Here is a promise given to Abraham, and in return he has to promise to not only circumcise his descendants, but I think it says all people traveling with you. When they're 8 days old, line 12, and generation after generation, no matter whether they were born within your household, bought from a foreigner, and not one of your descendants, everyone in your household, whoever is traveling with you, you don't have to be born a blood descendant or anything like that. It's the whole company of whoever is in Abraham's entourage. So I don't know if that's meaningful or not, but it's something to keep in mind if you're ever discussing these issues with people later on in your life. And now Sarah, same time. And now let's see, it's a God story at this point. Oh, all the way through you see it is God from about line 3 onward. So this seems to be Elohist. Even though Yahweh appeared to him and made this announcement in 1 and 2, in line 3 it switches over to Elohim. And then it's Elohim all the way through here. And I'm not surprised because again, the priests and others would be very interested in these matters. Now Sarah, we're going to get several different versions of this story. Was Abraham promised a son earlier by any angels? Let's see. I'm not sure. Well, anyway, I don't think so. I guess that's coming later. But the first version is this Elohist version. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, please. Please.
It looks like it repeated itself again. I don't know if they threw in, did they throw in a Yahwist in there? 12
Where?
and 13.
Where?
Verses 12 and 13, it says, including those born in your household or bought with money from a foreigner, those who are not your offspring. He talks about them being circumcised, and he says whether born in your household or bought with your own money.
Yeah, that may just be the wordiness of the Elohist. I'm not sure it's a,
Okay.
it's a splicing there. It doesn't seem like
Just
it's...
curious.
Yeah, I don't see that, but could be, but I just think it's the Elohist is more verbose. Not in the priestly version. In these now, these are Elohist non-priestly versions. Priestly, ceremonial kinds of things like we saw the first creation story, the genealogies, things of that kind. Abstract ceremonial things. These are the Yahwist type stories, but told from the Elohist narrative. A lot of, I think that book I gave you, Who Wrote the Bible, he basically says that these Elohist things are northern kingdom stories and the Yahwist things are southern kingdom stories. And it's not surprising, therefore they overlap, and then someone at a later point put them together. If you don't know what the northern and southern kingdom is, you'll find out, you know, halfway through the course or so, but after David's kingship, and he was a southern king from Judah, his son Solomon held things together for a while, but after that the north was not happy and it split away, and we got two kingdoms for about 200 or 300 years, from the 950s to the 700s, and then the northern kingdom was destroyed in the, you know, around 730 or so, and then the southern kingdom limped along for another 140 years, basically centered around Jerusalem, and then it was destroyed in 585 after a lot of trouble with the Babylonians. The northern kingdom was destroyed by the Assyrians, and they obliterated it, where the Babylonians didn't really, they were several waves, and they didn't really finish it off until 585. The first waves of problems were in the 610s period. So it was a 20, 25-year period that they were coming in and trying to impose their will, and finally, for some reason, took a lot of people into exile and tried to destroy what was left. So, how does that mean anything? Well, the northern stories are more